Hey, this is Frank Honus, and I want to welcome you to the Pure Life Podcast, helping individuals live with sexual integrity through Jesus Christ. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 83 of the Pure Life Podcast. Prior to last week, my interview with Dr. Mark Laser, we've been in a series called Stepping Stones in Recovery, and essentially talking about the essential steps, the essential actions that a person struggling with sexual addiction needs to take to find recovery. And so we talked about things like getting honest with yourself, finding a counselor, finding filtering software. These are incredibly important steps to take in our recovery in order for us to really find sexual integrity and sexual purity. So this week on the podcast, I want to talk about another step, a continual step to take for those trying to find sexual recovery and coming out of a sexual addiction, pornography, anything like that. This is crucial for you, men, for us as guys to take. And so we really need to think about this step, and that's finding a support group. So at this point, what we're doing is we're continuing to move out of our private world, and we're involving others in our recovery. And that's really what we're kind of going for in this series, Stepping Stones is in Recovery. Each one of these steps that we take is moving us out of our private worlds and into a public place, into the public world, into the light, and getting our story, getting our struggles out into the light. And so that's what we're really trying to do. And so what I find is that too many men never take this step in recovery. And what happens is that they slip right back into porn, they slip right back into addiction because they're really unwilling to get honest with other men. And so I want to talk a little bit about the benefits of finding a support group, finding a group of men, not just a counselor, not just filtering software, not just getting honest with yourself like we talked about in the first 3 weeks. But this is an additional step. This is a major step that I myself was a part of a group for about 2 years of my life, an incredible tool in my recovery process. And so what are the benefits of joining a support group? Well, first of all, number one, you realize that you're not alone in your struggles. It was amazing for me as a man who for 13 years dealt with a pornography addiction, to walk into a room of 6 or 7 or 8 guys, and for each man to go around the circle and share about his struggles, to share about his addiction, whether that was pornography or same-sex attraction or whatever that might be. But I realized that I was not alone. And there's so much power in that when you realize that you're not by yourself and you're not alone, that there really are other men who care as much as you do about recovery, care as much as you do about finding purity, sexual integrity, that each man would go around and share his story. And when I witnessed that for the first time, I realized that I wasn't alone. Number two, you realize you find a safe environment that you're accountable to. I found that when I joined a group of guys, I joined a support group that, this was not just a group of guys that would go out and run their mouths and talk about your business to everybody. And, this was a confidential, safe group. I knew that my story was safe. I knew that my struggles were safe when I talked to these guys, that they weren't going to go out and blab or anything like that, that they were going to, keep in confidence my struggles and keep in confidence my story. And, I found a sense also that not only was this a safe environment, but it was also an environment of accountability. That each week I went back, I would be in a healthy way and a loving way, be very accountable to these guys, and I was expected to be honest. And where some guys might come back every week and they might lie, I felt this sense of accountability to this group, and in order for me to make this group valuable to me and to make the most of this group, I had to be honest. And so it served a purpose of encouragement, of safety, and of accountability for me as well. So that safe environment that you're accountable to is so, so important. Number three, another benefit is you come out of isolation and you gain this sense of community by building deep relationships with other men. And for far too many of us as men, I would say almost every single man, we put ourselves in isolation. We isolate ourselves for far too long, and that's why we struggle for so, so long, is because we are so alone. We don't have outside sources of accountability and support. We don't have people that know the real us, the real me, and so we struggle. And so that's kind of what happens here. But when you join a group, you come out of that isolating place, and you join a place and you start to build a sense of community with other guys. And how does that happen? You build deep relationships, not these surface level things. You go to the bar with some guy, or go play golf with some guy, or see some guy by the water cooler at work. Not this surface stuff, but deep, meaningful relationships where men are sharing life with each other, men are sharing their struggles, men are sharing their addictions with each other, they're encouraging each other, they're praying with each other, they are asking each other the hard questions, they're challenging each other. And so that's another benefit, is that you come out of that isolating place. And number four, as you gain more sobriety, you become an encouragement to men who are just brand new in group. I found myself after about 2 years, having a little bit of sobriety under my belt, I found myself in a different place than I felt like I was, the first day that I walked in the group. I felt more of like a leader in recovery. And that's kind of, a really cool goal that you can make for yourself is, as you join a recovery group, you go from the rookie, I guess you could call yourself, to more of a leader in recovery over time. And you can be that source of light and that source of strength and encouragement to other guys who are just entering group. And it's a really cool transition and transformation that takes place. So, 4 benefits there that if you missed those, rewind the podcast and go back and listen again, because those are 4 incredible, incredible benefits to finding and being a part of a group. So how do you find a support group? How do you do it? Maybe you're not even sure where to begin or where to start. Where do you look? Well, number one, I think what you have to do, first thing, you have to look locally. I think, by looking locally and within your local community, contact counseling centers. A lot of counseling centers, well, I say a lot, but some counseling centers not only offer counseling one-on-one, but some even offer groups, support groups. The support group I was a part of was a counseling center, was from a counseling center. And so, a lot of times, oftentimes, counseling centers will offer these groups of support, and sometimes they will, sometimes you won't, but you have to look locally. And also find out if there are SAA groups in your area, and that's Sex Addicts Anonymous. And these groups work very similarly to Alcoholics Anonymous. They're fantastic groups, awesome groups that you can find, and they'll be a great support for you. So look locally. You can also try to look within your church. Now, this is a tough one because a lot of churches are still not on board and understand sexual addiction. But there are still churches out there, too, that do have groups, whether it's a Celebrate Recovery group. And Celebrate Recovery not specifically being for sexual addiction, but it would be a great start for you to join, maybe a Celebrate Recovery group. Maybe some churches have men's groups that are kind of like accountability groups that support each other. And again, maybe not specialize with sexual addiction matters, but still a great start for you to go to. So, talk to your pastor, talk to some local pastors in the area, and find, if there are those ministries and those groups available within the church. And then lastly, look online. I found that this has been an incredible resource. We have the internet at our fingertips, and we've used it obviously the wrong way, a lot of us, but we can also use the internet for really good things here. And there's so many resources online. When you go online, look, here's a couple resources you can find out. X3groups.com, which is the ministry from triplexchurch.com. our Triple X Church, and X3 Groups is an online web-based support group program that you can become a part of. There is a little bit of a cost to it. It's about $30 a month from month to month, but there are, if you're a first-time group member, there's discounts available and things like that. I myself am actually a group leader, so I would encourage you, if you want to find out more, go to x3groups.com. I would love for, if anybody's out there looking for a weekly group to be a part of, check that out. I'd love for you to even check out my group if that's something you want to be a part of, but that's a little shameless plug. But x3groups.com. You can also check out Life Recovery International, which is found at freedomeveryday.org. freedomeveryday.org, and that is a ministry that deals with all sorts of addictions, but specifically also sexual addiction. And they offer online, they actually have a button at the top of their website you can click to find a support group in your area, and then they have a specific link for sexual addiction. So go and check that out as well. Life Recovery is a Christ-centered, biblically based ministry. You can check out freedomeveryday.org. My friend Dustin Daniels, who I interviewed recently on the podcast, has a ministry called 7 Places, and you can go to 7places.org, and he also offers online support groups for men who are wanting to find sexual purity and sexual integrity. So check that out as well. Dustin is a great guy, awesome friend, and but please check out his ministry. And you can just simply do a Google search for sexual addiction support groups in your area. So whatever your area is, type that in, and then type, be very specific with your search, obviously, but sexual addiction support groups is really what you want to type in there in Google. So do a Google search. There's all kinds of resources you can find online for finding a support group, but the bottom line is you need to find something. You need to find an outlet of support where you are getting to know other men, where you are letting other people into your life to know you, to encourage you, to support you, and to really challenge you, because you cannot beat this addiction on your own. I find that so many men try to beat this on their own, and they really back off the idea of joining a support group. But I really want to encourage you to find a support group in your area. Look locally, look in your church, look online, find that source of support and that connection to those guys. How long do you need to be a part of one? Well, that's going to depend on you, and that's going to depend on what you need to do and your own recovery and your own struggles. Only you can answer that. But at least make the decision today to find that source of support, to find that support group, and do it, and get out of your private world and get this stuff into the light. So that's this week's recovery tip and stepping stones in recovery, finding a support group. I hope that you'll do it, and I hope that you have a great week. Chase after purity. It is possible. It is worth it, and I know you can do it. I'm rooting for you. I'm praying for you, and I hope you have a great week. God bless. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the podcast this week. I want to encourage you to check out our website, purelifepodcast.com, for a lot of great blogs and resources and podcasts from previous episodes to help you along in your journey for sexual purity. Remember, you can listen to the podcast on our website, iTunes, and Stitcher Radio. And if you need to contact me for any reason, if you have questions or comments, email me at frank@purelifepodcast.com. That's frank@purelifepodcast.com. See you next week.